The alien science vessel Starlight Explorer drifted helplessly at the edge of the Orion Spur, its damaged hull venting atmosphere into the void. Chief Science Officer Tavo frantically worked at the communications array, broadcasting a desperate SOS on all frequencies. The Nalarian scientist knew their chances were slim. They were far from established trade routes, and their ship had been ambushed by Void Marauders, a ruthless pirate faction. Tahoe's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in the dim emergency lighting. His silver-blue skin glistened with moisture, a sign of extreme stress among Nalarians. Around him, the bridge of the once proud research vessel lay in ruins. Console panels sparked, and the acrid smell of burned circuitry filled the air. "Status report," he called out, his voice steadied despite the fear gripping his heart. Officer Yunha limped toward him, clutching a wound on her arm. Main engines destroyed. Life support at 32% and falling. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 5. She paused, her voice breaking. 19 crew members are still alive. Tahoe nodded grimly. Their scientific expedition to study the rare neutron star cluster had gone horribly wrong when the Void Marauders appeared seemingly from nowhere. The pirates were known throughout the sector, brutal raiders who attacked without warning or mercy. "Keep working on sealing those hull breaches," Tahoe ordered. "I'll try to get help." He turned back to the communications array, his long fingers dancing across the damaged controls. The system sputtered to life, and he leaned toward the transmitter. "Any sentient vessel. This is the Nalarian science vessel Starlight Explorer *. We are damaged and under attack by Void Marauders. 19 crew members remain alive. Life support failing. Requesting immediate assistance." The message broadcast out into the darkness of space. Tahoe repeated it, adding coordinates and details of their situation. He knew it was unlikely anyone would respond quickly enough to save them. The nearest Nalarian outpost was days away, even at maximum speed. "Sir," called out Young Jay, the junior sensor officer whose station was one of the few still functioning. "I'm picking up movement. The Marauders are regrouping." Tahoe's heart sank. The pirates had withdrawn after their initial assault, presumably to regroup and prepare for boarding. The Starlight Explorer carried valuable scientific equipment and research data that would fetch a high price on the black market. "How long?" Tahoe asked. 20 minutes, maybe less," Yumja replied, his voice trembling. Tahoe returned to the communications array, broadcasting their distress call with increased urgency. As he worked, a small indicator light on the console began to blink. "Someone's receiving our transmission," he said, hope rising in his voice. The crew members still able to stand gathered around the communication station. Tahoe adjusted the controls, trying to strengthen the signal. Information began to flow across his screen, identifying the source of the reception. His hope turned to ash. "Sol system," he whispered. Yuna gasped. "The quarantine zone. The Deathworlders." Tahoe nodded slowly. Every spacefaring species knew of Sol and its inhabitants. The Galactic Conclave had placed the entire system under strict quarantine centuries ago. The sole inhabited planet, Earth, was classified as a Class 12 death world, its native species considered too dangerous to interact with the wider galactic community. "They can't help us," said Youngja. "They're restricted to their home system by Conclave law." "Even if they weren't," Yumha added, "would we want their help? The stories about them." Nalarian children grew up hearing tales of the humans of Earth, beings evolved on a planet of high gravity, extreme temperature variations, and constant predators, creatures with incredible endurance and aggression, whose bodies could withstand radiation levels that would kill most sentient species, beings whose very touch might be deadly to the delicate biology of a Nalarian. "We have no choice," Tahoe said firmly. "Any help is better than none." He turned back to the communicator, but before he could transmit again, Yumja cried out. "The Marauders are coming back. Multiple ships on approach vector." The main view screen flickered to life, showing 3 Void Marauder vessels moving toward them. Unlike the sleek, beautiful lines of the Narration science vessel, the Marauder ships were ugly, cobbled-together monstrosities bristling with stolen weapons. Even one would have overwhelmed the Starlight Explorer's minimal defenses. 3 meant certain doom. "They're charging weapons," reported Youngjay, his voice hollow. Tahoe looked around at his crew, scientists and explorers, not warriors. They had ventured into space to expand knowledge, not to die at the hands of pirates. With a sudden clarity, he knew what had to be done. He returned to the communications array one last time. The indicator light still blinked, showing that someone in the Sol system was listening. Tahoe pressed the transmit button. "To any receiving this signal, we are scientists, not soldiers. Please help us." As the words left the communicator, the ship rocked violently. The Marauders had fired a warning shot, deliberately striking a non-critical area. "They want us alive," Yunha said, steadying herself against a console. "At least some of us." Everyone knew what happened to crews captured by Void Marauders. Some were ransomed if they were valuable enough. Others were sold into slavery in the lawless regions beyond Conclave space. The rest were simply disposed of. Tahoe closed his eyes briefly. The Sol system was their only hope, but what could the quarantined Deathworlders do? Even if they wanted to help, they were bound by Conclave restrictions. And even if they somehow broke those restrictions, they would never arrive in time. The ship's remaining lights flickered as another blast hit them. This one was not meant to wound, but to disable completely. The Starlight Explorer groaned like a dying animal. "Boarding craft detected," Youngjay reported, his voice barely audible over the ship's dying systems. "They'll breach the airlock in minutes." Tahoe looked at his fellow crew members. They were scientists to the end, faces showing curiosity about what would come next, even as fear shone in their eyes. "It has been my honor to serve with you all," Tahoe said simply. As the Marauders prepared to board, none of the Nalarians noticed the small indicator light on the communications console blinking rapidly, signaling an incoming transmission from the Sol system. Admiral Juwu stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the holographic projection floating in the center of the United Earth Defense Force Command Center. The alien distress call played again, the translator converting the strange, musical language into crisp English. The voice sounded desperate, even through the mechanical translation. "Any sentient vessel, this is the Nalarian science vessel Starlight Explorer *. We are damaged and under attack by Void Marauders. 19 crew members remain alive. Life support failing. Requesting immediate assistance." The command center hummed with tense activity. Dozens of officers at their stations worked furiously, analyzing the signal, mapping coordinates, assessing response options. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Play the final transmission again," Juwu ordered, her voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through her body. The hologram flickered and the alien's voice returned. "To any receiving this signal, we are scientists, not soldiers. Please help us." Juwu turned to Commander Doyun, her second-in-command and longtime friend. His usually relaxed face was now tight with concentration. "So we've confirmed it's authentic?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral," replied Doyun, swiping through data on his tablet. "Deep Space Relay picked it up 3 hours ago. We've run every verification protocol. It's real." He paused, bringing up a new set of images. "And we've identified the attackers. Void Marauders. They've been hitting frontier colonies across 3 sectors." "What do we know about the Marauders?" Juwu asked. "Pirates. Brutal ones," Doyun answered. "Intelligence gathered from our covered observation satellites shows they target vulnerable ships, strip them of valuable tech, and either ransom or enslave the crews." His face darkened. "Many victims don't survive." Juwu nodded slowly, processing the information. For over 50 years, humanity had respected the galactic quarantine around Sol. Early probes had detected alien civilizations, and Earth had eagerly prepared for first contact. But when contact finally came, it wasn't what anyone expected. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world and quarantined. Humans were deemed too dangerous to join the galactic community, their biology supposedly too aggressive, their strength too great, their endurance too threatening. But humanity hadn't remained idle behind the quarantine line. They studied the stars, built powerful ships, and prepared for the day they might be accepted. Most importantly, they listened to the cosmos, intercepting communications, learning languages, mapping conflicts, understanding the politics of a galaxy that had rejected them. The Narratians, Ju said. What do we know about them? Officer Hyasu stepped forward, the xenobiology specialist holding her own tablet. Peaceful species, primarily scientists and artists, physically fragile by our standards, evolved on a low-gravity world with stable climate. 4 eyes, blue-silver skin, average height about 2 meters. They're known for their advances in astronomy and physics. And the quarantine laws? What are our options? Ju asked. Legal Officer Jinwoo cleared his throat. The Conclave quarantine directive is clear. Sol origin ships are forbidden from crossing the boundary line. Violation is considered an act of aggression. Are there exceptions? Ju pressed. Jinwoo hesitated. There's no precedent. No quarantined world has ever. He trailed off, then straightened. Actually, there is a provision. The Galactic Maritime Code predates the Conclave itself. It states that all spacefaring vessels must respond to distress calls when able. A heavy silence fell over the command center. Everyone understood what was at stake. This wasn't just about saving 19 alien lives. It was humanity's first real interaction with the wider galaxy. Jiwoo's expression hardened. She had made her decision. The distress call is sacred. It's a principle older than spaceflight itself. She stood taller, her voice taking on the edge of command. Inform the fleet. Preparation protocol Sierra Oscar Sierra. We launch in 30 minutes. Commander Doyen's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded firmly. Yes, Admiral. The command center erupted into activity. Officers rushed to their stations. Emergency alerts sounded throughout Earth's defense network, and the global communication system activated to inform all nations of the decision. Across Earth's orbital shipyards, vessels of the United Earth Defense Force powered up their engines. Massive warships that had never seen combat outside of training exercises hummed to life. Medical frigates prepared their alien adaptable treatment facilities. Supply ships loaded with emergency provisions and repair materials joined the formation. The flagship Olympus detached from its docking clamps first, its kilometer-long hull gleaming in the sunlight. As the most advanced vessel humanity had ever built, it represented the pinnacle of Earth's technological achievement. The rest of Battle Group Alpha followed. The destroyers Sentinel Guardian and Protector along with their support craft. In low Earth orbit, the rescue and medical vessels formed their own group, led by the hospital ship Mercy. None of these ships had ever ventured beyond the quarantine line before. Their crews were a mixture of nervous and determined as they prepared to make history. On the bridge of the Olympus Admiral Jiwoo settled into the command chair. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, preparing for the jump to hyperspace. The coordinates of the distressed Narration vessel had been plotted, the fastest route calculated. All ships report ready, Admiral, Doyen said, taking his position beside her. Jiwoo nodded and opened a channel to the assembled fleet. Her voice would reach every ship, every crew member about to risk everything to answer a call for help. This is Admiral Jiwoo to all UEDF vessels. In moments, we will cross the quarantine line established by the Galactic Conclave. We do this not as an act of defiance, but in accordance with the oldest law of space travel, the obligation to render aid to those in distress. She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew. Some showed fear, others determination, but all showed pride. For generations, we have prepared for this moment. We have built our ships, trained our crews, and developed our technologies, all while respecting a quarantine we never agreed to. Today, we answer a call for help, knowing it may bring consequences, but we cannot ignore those in need, even if they are strangers. This is humanity's first contact with the wider galactic community. Let's show them what Deathworlders stand for. The bridge crew stood a little straighter at her words. Throughout the fleet, thousands of humans prepared to risk everything for aliens they had never met. Fleet Command, this is Admiral Ju. Execute hyperspace jump. Space distorted around the human vessels as they accelerated beyond light speed, breaking the quarantine barrier that had contained humanity for half a century. They were venturing into a galaxy that feared them to save those who needed them. The rescue mission had begun. Commander Crado stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Void Cutter *, a cruel smile spreading across his scaled face. The Nullarian science vessel floated helplessly before them, its sleek hull now scarred and broken. His 3 marauder ships had the alien vessel surrounded, with no chance of escape. Begin boarding procedures, Crado ordered, his deep voice rumbling through the command deck. I want their research data intact, and bring me their chief scientist alive. The Void Marauders were the most feared pirates in 3 sectors. Their raids were quick, brutal, and always profitable. Scientific vessels like the Starlight Explorer were particularly valuable targets, often carrying rare technology and important research that could be sold to the highest bidder. Boarding craft ready, Commander, his first officer reported. Teams are armed and await your signal. Crado nodded with satisfaction. This would be an easy capture. The Nullarians were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful researchers, with no combat training or significant defenses. His boarding teams would face little resistance. Launch. Commander. The tactical officer's panicked voice cut through the bridge. Hyperspace ruptures detected. Multiple signatures appearing. Crado spun toward the main view screen, his predatory eyes narrowing. Show me. The screen shifted to display the space around them. What he saw made no sense. Dozens of rupture points were forming, far more than their scanners could track. Ships began emerging from hyperspace in perfect military formation. Impossible, Crado snarled, his claws digging into the armrests of his command chair. There are no military outposts in this sector. Yet the evidence was undeniable. A fleet of unknown vessels now filled the space around them. Their design was unlike anything in Crado's extensive database of galactic ship types. They were angular, heavily armored, and moved with a precision that spoke of advanced military training. Identity unknown, the tactical officer reported, voice shaking. No matching signatures in our records. Their hulls bear no identifiable markings from any known species. Hail them, Crado ordered, sudden unease crawling up his spine. Before his communications officer could comply, all channels on their ship activated simultaneously. A calm voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, followed by repetitions in 12 other major languages. This is Admiral Ju of the United Earth Defense Force. We are responding to a distress call. Stand down and withdraw from the Nullarian vessel immediately. Silence fell across the Marauder Bridge. Earth, the quarantined world. Deathworlders. Crado had heard stories, of course. Every spacefaring species had. Tales of the isolated system and its dangerous inhabitants, too violent to be allowed into galactic society. They've broken quarantine, whispered the first officer. Crado quickly regained his composure, quarantined or not. He counted at least 30 vessels in the human fleet, but most appeared to be support ships. He still had 3 heavily armed raider vessels against what might be an inexperienced military force. Battle stations, he commanded. Target their lead vessel and fire on my mark. Commander, perhaps we should. Fire. Inside the crippled Nullarian science vessel, Tejo and his surviving crew watched in astonishment through their few functioning viewports. The strange fleet had appeared from nowhere, positioning itself protectively, between the Starlight Explorer and the Marauders. "Who are they?" Yunha asked, her 4 eyes wide with wonder. "Earth Defense Force," Tahoe replied, hardly believing his own words. "Humans," they answered our call. "Humans," Yunja gasped. "The Deathworlders." Before anyone could respond, the space beyond their viewport lit up with weapons fire. The Marauders had opened fire on the human fleet. The crew held their breath, expecting to see the unknown ships shattered by the pirates' notorious firepower. What happened instead defied everything they knew about space combat. The human vessels moved in ways that should have been impossible for ships their size. They absorbed devastating hits that would have crippled any Conclave military vessel, their armored hulls glowing but holding. The flagship, a massive vessel at the center of their formation, took 3 direct hits from the Marauders' main guns without apparent damage. Then the humans responded. Their weapons were unlike anything the Narratians had seen before, precise, powerful, and deployed with surgical accuracy. The first volley disabled the weapons systems on one Marauder ship without destroying it. The second took out the engines on another. The third struck the Void Cutter's command deck with pinpoint precision. "They're not trying to destroy them," Yunji observed with amazement. "They're disabling them deliberately." On the Marauder flagship, chaos reigned. Half the bridge was exposed to space, emergency force fields barely containing the atmosphere. 3 crew members had been sucked into the void before the shields activated. "Return fire. All weapons." Kratos screamed, blood flowing from a gash on his face. "Weapons offline, Commander. Get us out of here." The remaining Marauder ships attempted to regroup, but the humans had already adapted to their tactics. The Earth vessels moved in formation that seemed to anticipate every Marauder maneuver. When the pirates tried to target the apparent medical ships hanging back from the battle, 3 human destroyers intercepted the shots with their own hulls. "These Deathworlders, they're protecting their healers with their warriors," Kratos' first officer whispered, a note of awe in his voice. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 5 minutes. Half the Marauder fleet was disabled or destroyed. The humans had targeted engines, weapons, and command centers with impossible precision, deliberately avoiding reactor cores and life support systems. "Hyperspace drives still operational," reported the engineer. "We can escape." Kratos looked at the view screen, at the alien fleet that had appeared from nowhere, and systematically dismantled his forces. In all his years of raiding, he had never encountered anything like this. The decision was clear. Retreat. All functioning vessels, jump to hyperspace. The remaining Marauder ships disappeared into hyperspace rifts, fleeing the battle. The human fleet made no move to pursue them. Aboard the Starlight Explorer the Narration crew watched in stunned silence. The entire engagement had lasted barely 5 minutes. "They saved us," Yunha said quietly. A new transmission came through their damaged communications array. The same calm voice they had heard before now addressed them directly. "Narration vessel Starlight Explorer This is Admiral Juwu of the Earth Defense Force. Your distress call has been received and answered. We have medical and repair teams standing by. With your permission, we would like to send boarding parties to assist your wounded and begin emergency repairs." Tahoe looked at his fellow crew members, seeing his own mix of fear and hope reflected in their faces. These were humans, the mysterious Deathworlders, feared throughout the galaxy. Yet they had come when no one else would, fought when no one else could, and now offered help with a respect for boundaries that many Conclave species didn't show. He moved to the communications array and activated the transmitter. "Earth Defense Force. This is Chief Science Officer Tahoe of the Starlight Explorer We accept your assistance with gratitude. You have saved our lives today." Outside the viewport, several smaller vessels broke from the human formation and approached the damaged science ship. The first contact between humanity and the wider galaxy had begun. The airlock hissed open, and Dr. Minji took her first step onto an alien vessel. Despite years of training for this moment, her heart raced inside her sealed exosuit. The corridor before her was dimly lit by emergency lighting, with strange blue fluid leaking from damaged pipes overhead. "Medical Team Alpha, stay alert," she said into her comm. "Remember, we're guests here. Move carefully." Behind her, 5 other humans in identical white exosuits entered the ship. Each carried specialized medical equipment designed to work with a wide range of potential alien physiologies. Though humanity had studied alien biology from a distance for decades, this was their first direct contact. Dr. Minji's exosuit sensors immediately began analyzing the ship's atmosphere, her heads-up display filled with data. Oxygen levels higher than Earth normal, gravity at 0.7 Earth standard, trace gases unknown to human science. "Air is breathable for them, but potentially toxic to us," she reported. "Keep suits sealed at all levels." As they moved deeper into the damaged vessel, they encountered their first Narration. The alien was slumped against a wall, one of its 4 arms clutching a wound on its torso. Its silver-blue skin had a sickly gray tone, and all 4 of its eyes were half closed. Dr. Minji approached slowly, kneeling beside the injured alien. "I'm a doctor," she said, activating her translator. "I'm here to help." The Narration's eyes widened in fear, then confusion. It spoke weakly, the translator converting its musical language. "You came from outside. Are you rescue?" "Yes," Minji replied gently. "We received your distress call. I need to check your injuries. May I?" After a hesitant nod from the alien, Minji ran a medical scanner over its body. The data was fascinating. A circulatory system with copper-based blood, 3 hearts beating in sequence, a respiratory system designed for a high-oxygen environment. "Puncture wound to the secondary heart chamber," she diagnosed. "Blood loss significant, but not immediately life-threatening." She turned to her team. "Hygiene, prep the universal clotting agent, variant 6. Dongho, we need a pressure stabilizer here." Her team moved with practiced efficiency. Years of drills and simulations were finally being put to use. As they worked to stabilize the injured Narration, more of the alien crew appeared, watching with a mixture of fear and hope. Further down the corridor, another human team was already setting up equipment. Lieutenant Junho, an engineering specialist, directed his team to create a clean room interface between the human and Narration environments. "We need to establish a clean room interface," Dr. Minji ordered as she approached them. "Their biochemistry is completely different from ours. Any contamination could be disastrous for both species." The engineers deployed a specialized barrier system, creating a sealed workspace where humans and Narratians could interact with minimal risk. Inside this space, medical equipment was sterilized according to protocols developed for dozens of potential alien biologies. As the human teams worked, more Narratians gathered to watch. They whispered among themselves, pointing at the humans' rapid movements and incredible strength. One human engineer, struggling with a damaged door panel, gripped it with both hands and tore it free with a grunt of effort. The metal that had resisted Narration tools gave way to human muscle. In another section, a human medic carried an injured Narration in her arms, moving quickly yet carefully through the corridors. Chief Science Officer Taeho arrived at the clean room interface, watching as humans set up an emergency medical station. His scientific curiosity fought with his instinctive fear. These creatures from a high-gravity death world moved with alarming speed and strength, yet displayed remarkable precision in their work. A human in a command uniform approached the barrier. The insignia marked him as a high-ranking officer. "I am Commander Sunwoo of the Earth Defense Force," he said through his translator. "Are you in charge here?" Tahoe stepped forward. "I am Chief Science Officer Tahoe, acting commander of the Starlight Explorer *. Our captain did not survive the initial attack." Commander Sunwood nodded respectfully. "I'm sorry for your losses. We've brought medical teams, engineers, and supplies. We'll help stabilize your ship and treat your wounded." Tahoe studied the human, trying to reconcile this respectful, helpful being with the fearsome legends of Deathworlders. Through the clear barrier, he could see the human's physical differences, the dense muscle structure, the efficient respiratory system, the thick skin evolved to withstand radiation and physical trauma. "You came," Tahoe said, his translator struggling to convey his complex emotions. "Why would you risk breaking quarantine for strangers?" The human's expression remained calm, but something in his eyes softened. "Because you asked for help." The simplicity of the answer stunned Tahoe. All his scientific training had prepared him to analyze complex motivations and calculations of benefit. Yet this human presented a motivation so basic it seemed almost impossible. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out as humans worked to save Nalarian lives and repair critical systems. A human engineer reconnected power conduits with bare hands, ignoring small electrical shocks that would have seriously injured a Nalarian. A human medic worked tirelessly to stabilize a critically wounded crew member, refusing rest for hours. Two humans lifted a collapsed support beam that would have required at least 3 Nalarians to move, freeing a trapped crew member. In the makeshift medical bay, Dr. Minji supervised treatment of the most seriously wounded. Her team had adapted their techniques to Nalarian physiology with remarkable speed, developing treatments on the fly. "Their healing capabilities are much slower than ours," she explained to her team. "Their bodies haven't evolved to repair damage quickly. We need to be extremely gentle and provide more supportive care than we would for humans." As the immediate crisis passed, curiosity began to overcome fear. Nalarian scientists cautiously approached the humans, asking questions about Earth and human biology. The humans answered openly, sharing information about their quarantined world. "Is it true your planet has extreme temperature variations?" asked one Nalarian researcher. "Yes," replied a human engineer while repairing a life support system. "Parts of our world can be below freezing and others scorching hot on the same day. Most of us can function in temperatures from about -20 to 45 degrees Celsius with appropriate clothing." The Nalarians exchanged shocked glances. Their homeworld maintained a consistent temperature range of only 5 degrees throughout the year. Yunha, the communications officer, worked with human technicians to restore the ship's long-range communications. "We need to contact our homeworld," she explained. "They should know what happened." "Of course," agreed the human technician. "We can boost your signal with our equipment." Within hours, the news began to spread. Yunha sent the first transmission to Nalarian space authorities, including visual records of the human rescue. The message traveled through the Galactic Communication Network, jumping from relay to relay. "This is the science vessel Starlight Explorer *. We were attacked by void marauders, but have been rescued by ships from the Sol system. Yes, humans. They came when we called for help." The revelation rippled outward. Humanity, the isolated Deathworlders of Sol, had not only responded to a distress call, but had dispatched a fleet powerful enough to rout the void marauders, pirates that had plagued established galactic nations for decades. As night cycle approached on the damaged vessel, Tahoe found himself watching a human engineer effortlessly repair a section of hull that would have required specialized equipment for Nalarians. The human noticed his observation and smiled, the expression somehow both alien and familiar. "Your people are not what we expected," Tahoe admitted. "We get that a lot," the human replied with a small laugh. "But then again, we've been waiting a long time to show the galaxy who we really are." The grand chamber of the Galactic Conclave sparkled with light reflected from crystalline architecture. Representatives from hundreds of spacefaring civilizations filled the tiered seating, their diverse bodies adapted to countless different worlds. Some floated in special atmosphere bubbles, others stood on multiple legs, and some existed as shimmering energy forms contained in mechanical shells. At the center of this assembly stood Admiral Ju, the first human ever invited to address the conclave. She wore her formal United Earth Defense Force uniform, its dark blue fabric offset by silver insignia. Though she stood perfectly still, Many alien observers noted the controlled power in her stance, the hallmark of a species evolved on a high-gravity world. The Conclave speaker, a tall, wispy being with translucent skin, activated the central translator field. The Conclave recognizes Admiral Juwu of Earth, here to address the matter of Quarantine Directive 12 Sol. Juwu stepped forward. She had practiced this speech countless times, understanding its historic importance. Behind her sat the crew of the Starlight Explorer now fully recovered and present as honored guests. Chief Science Officer Tahoe nodded encouragingly to her. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Conclave, Juwu began, her voice calm and measured. 3 months ago, an Alarian science vessel broadcast a distress call. My fleet answered that call, crossing the quarantine boundary established around our home system. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many species shifted uncomfortably at the mention of this violation of long-standing policy. Humanity respects the caution with which you've regarded us. Juwu continued. We understand that evolution on our high-gravity, radiation-bathed, predator-filled world has made us physically intimidating. But today, I hope you've seen another aspect of what shaped us. She gestured to Tahoe and the Nalarian crew. The same harsh conditions that made us strong also taught us the value of cooperation and mutual aid. On Earth, we have a tradition older than our civilization. When someone broadcasts SOS, you respond. No questions asked, no payment expected. The conclave erupted in discussion, voices rising in dozens of languages as representatives debated among themselves. Some pointed accusingly at the human, while others nodded in agreement. The speaker raised all 4 of their arms for silence. There are questions from the assembly. A bulky representative with reptilian features stood. Your ships displayed military capabilities beyond what many conclave member species possess. How can we trust that these capabilities won't be used for conquest? Juwu nodded, having expected this concern. The Void Marauders attacked us first. We used minimal force to disable their vessels while preserving life where possible. Our records of the engagement have been provided to the conclave for review. Another representative, small and furred, spoke next. Why did you develop such military technology while quarantined? This suggests aggressive intent. We develop these technologies for the same reason any species does, to protect ourselves. Juwu replied. Earth history has taught us that preparation prevents conflict more often than it causes it. And as you've seen, these technologies can be used to protect others. A third representative, a floating collection of gas sacks, bobbed forward. What does Earth want from the conclave? Juwu took a deep breath. This was the heart of her mission. We don't ask for your quarantine to end. We understand the galaxy's caution toward us. But we do ask for the right to answer when called. The stars are vast and often dangerous. Perhaps there's a place in this galaxy for those who evolve to face danger head-on. She activated a holographic display showing ship designs, sleek vessels with prominent red and white markings. We propose a specialized rescue fleet. Human ships stationed at key points throughout conclave space, ready to respond to any distress call. Our unique biology makes us suited for search and rescue in environments too extreme for most species. The chamber filled with intense discussion. Some representatives appeared outraged at the suggestion, others intrigued. The debate continued for hours, with Juwu answering countless questions about human intentions, capabilities, and history. Finally, the speaker called for a vote. The massive chamber hummed with energy as representatives registered their positions. The result appeared on the central display. A narrow majority in favor of the human proposal. The resolution passes, the speaker announced. A special dispensation for human vessels to respond to authenticated distress calls anywhere in conclave space is granted under the following conditions. The speaker listed several restrictions and monitoring requirements. Juwu accepted each one with a respectful nod. The details were less important than the principle. Humanity would no longer be completely isolated. As the session ended, Tahoe approached Juwu. That was well done, Admiral. Many species here feared this day would never come. Or worse, the humans would emerge from quarantine as conquerors. Jiwoo smiled. We had 50 years to think about what kind of neighbors we wanted to be. 1 year later, the first official human rescue ship, the UEDF Responder took its position at the edge of the Cygnus Arm. Its distinctive red and white hull gleamed in the light of a distant star. Similar vessels were stationed throughout Conclave space, each crewed by specially trained humans ready to face dangers that would kill most other species. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Responder watching the stars. His ship was equipped with the most advanced medical facilities, engineering tools, and defensive systems Earth could provide. Though technically under Conclave supervision, these ships represented humanity's first official presence in the wider galaxy. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call," his communications officer reported. "Mining facility in the Lyra cluster. Radiation leak from damaged reactor cores." Minho nodded. "Radiation levels fatal to most Conclave species within minutes. The facility has 200 workers trapped. Plot a course, maximum speed," Minho ordered. "Alert medical to prepare radiation protocols. We're going in." As the Responder jumped to hyperspace, news of its deployment spread across Conclave communication channels. Throughout the galaxy, the story of the Narration rescue had become well known. Now, species that once feared the Deathworlders watched with hope as human ships raced toward danger. In criminal hideouts and pirate bases, the news spread differently. The Void Marauders had learned painful lessons from their encounter with human ships. Other pirate factions took note. Attacking civilian vessels now carried a new risk. It might summon the Deathworlders. On a distant trading station, a Narration merchant told wide-eyed listeners about his people's rescue. When all seemed lost, they came from the quarantined world. "Their ships moved like nothing I've seen. The pirates fled before them." His audience leaned closer as he continued. "Now, when ships send the old Earth signal, SOS, it has a new meaning. It calls the humans, and they always answer." Throughout the galaxy, the signal SOS took on near mystical significance, a summoning that called forth humanity's unstoppable fleet, the guardians no one expected, who came from the most unlikely of worlds. On the bridge of the Responder Captain Minho watched his crew prepare for rescue operations. They were about to face lethal radiation, desperate trapped miners, and complex engineering challenges. Just another day for humans raised on a death world. But as they approached the stricken facility, he felt only pride in their mission. Humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors but as protectors, the ones who came when called, who faced dangers others couldn't, who helped because help was needed. The quarantined Deathworlders had become the galaxy's most unlikely heroes. The end.